What makes America great?
I'm glad this interview is today because before I arrived today, I watched the four former living presidents being interviewed by Jenna Bush on the Today Show. Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, uh, Joe Biden, Barack Obama. Every one of them mentioned hope, optimism for the world today, for the United States. Learning of history was one thing. I think George Bush said to continue learning history, uh, developing it so that you know what to expect, and that we just should. Barack Obama spoke a lot about hope for the future, and every one of them was optimistic and happy about the democracy we share. And I think that's what makes us great.
When were you most proud to be an American?
Well, there are several times. I can't give you just one. Um, I looked back at some dates last night, and it was May the 5th, 1961. I don't remember exactly what grade I was in, but I was living in Winfield, Kansas, elementary school, and Alan Shepard was having the first American suborbital flight into space. My mom let me stay home from school and go in a little late. I think the flight was at 8:34, and it wasn't but about 15, 20 minutes, that suborbital flight. But I was so proud of what I saw on live television at that time. And I think that was one of the impetuses that pushed me along. Lately, the Artemis 2 endeavor into space has made me very proud to be an American. Any Olympics that we've had institutes pride, I think, throughout the country. We see a rise in patriotism with the Olympics. Um, and when people are talking around the water cooler the next morning, everyone knows what you're talking about. Um, Several trips to cities with historical monuments make me very proud. The first time I saw the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C., the Holocaust Museum, even though that's not exactly an American institute, but we helped liberate those camps, and it made you proud to walk through that. Um, and I think I would end with America's response to the attacks of 9/11. Again, the rise of patriotism and how our country came together. And I wouldn't say in hate, but in unity.
What, in your opinion, makes the Constitution such a great governing document?
Well, it's the best. It is both very concrete and very flexible. Um, it gives us a democratic republic where governing is in the hands of those who are being governed, not a king or a queen. And it is lasting. If it needs to be changed, it can be, but it's not easy. It's not an easy process. The founding fathers were sure about that. They knew it would have to be changed. Uh, One of the first amendments in it covers, and George W. Bush covered this morning, the right to worship freely as you please and not be persecuted for that was instituted. And I think that's extremely important.
What are your wishes for America in the future and maybe in the next 250 years?
That our democracy grows, flourishes, and I believe it will. This morning, those former living presidents touched on how we've gone through bad periods, but we always come out on the other side and we're stronger. And that's what I anticipate will happen as we continue to grow. The negativity we see from time to time will disappear and we'll focus on the positive, and our democracy will get even stronger. We will have more respect for one another. I hope that continues to grow. One of the things I've seen as I travel outside of my little area, um, particularly when I visit big cities, is the respect those people have for other individuals, regardless of their background.
What event in your lifetime, positive or negative, meant the most to you as an American?
1963, live television. Um, and I think this was in August. And at that time, I don't think I was in school yet. We didn't go till after Labor Day. 1963, March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom by Martin Luther, organized not only by Dr. King, but other famous individuals. And I can remember watching his speech, the I Have a Dream speech, but also the musical acts that came before him. Some of my favorites at that time as I was entering the 1960s, Joan Baez, Peter, Paul, and Mary were like one of the top groups at the time. They sang it, and I thought, this is just incredible, and what an impact that had on me. I'll fast forward to 2017, January the 21st, um, Women's March. Now, you wouldn't think I'd be participating in a Women's March, but like you, Mr. Gordon, I have two girls, and I feel very passionately about the rights for women, and I participated with my family that day in Nashville. But there were something like 360 events all across the world, and one of the largest demonstrations to date in our history.
If you visited outside the country or from sea to shining sea, which parts of America have you enjoyed the most?
It was good. It was good, even though we visited England and Ireland. Um, and I was glad to be back home on this soil with the rights and privileges we have. Not that those folks didn't have many of those same rights and privileges, but there's this sense not only of the freedom we enjoy, but of I'm with my people. Philadelphia is my favorite because of all the history that's there. Whether it's the Liberty Bell, Ben Franklin's grave. Um, One of the things I'm most taken from there, impressed by, is a statue of Irish immigrants coming to this country. And it expresses Ireland from the potato famine and the death that it brought to the immigrants getting on ships and coming over here. And there's a great segment of that statue that shows Americans welcoming them to our country. That had a tremendous impact on me watching that. And Philadelphia is such a great city. It's so diverse. Uh, People just get along. Well, I mean, Philadelphians are Philadelphians. They've got a great sense of get out of my way if you're in my way. But at the same time, they're very respectful of people's differences. Visited Seneca Falls, New York. You'll appreciate this not only because of the women's movement, 1848, um, beginning there, really. Um, the film It's a Wonderful Life is supposedly based on the little town of Seneca Falls, New York. So I got to visit some of the places that you supposedly see in the film, and that was real neat. Hannibal, Missouri, Mark Twain's boyhood home, was one of my favorites because you get to see what life was like on the Mississippi River as a main mode of transportation in this country before we had what we have now. I will say also, um, 2022, I got to go to the men's Final Four in New Orleans. My daughter Mickey took me, and one of the things we did was go to the World War II Memorial Museum there. That was tremendous, just tremendous.
What parts of history have you directly observed or participated in?
This one is not such a pleasant one. In the middle of my seventh grade year, I moved from Kansas, where I grew up, and I didn't go to a segregated school at all. Um, but I moved to North Carolina, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, seventh grade, and they had just then that year experienced integration. It was a tremendous shock. I had African American or black friends in Winfield, Kansas, where I grew up, but there was still a lot of hostility in that community and in that school. That was just made a tremendous impact on me. Also, I had the privilege of meeting Al Gore when he served as vice president. I got to take my leadership class from here at Central to meet him. He was speaking at an event in Tullahoma, and we got into the meeting there, and it was neat.
How do you feel like that being an American has shaped who you are?
I'm going to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier in parts of history. Um, Walter Cronkite was a huge influence on me. One of the best American journalists, had the CBS Evening News on TV every evening, and I felt a part of history as he talked about it to us every evening. I was able to hear about John F. Kennedy's assassination, to watch the funeral. I saw live the assassination of Lee Harvey Oswald by Jack Ruby. And then I want to shift to something that you've talked a great deal about, that's made that you have a great interest in, and that's movies. Movies have a tremendous impact on me and make me an American. Saving Private Ryan is one of my favorites. All the President's Men, that shows us a darker side of America. Schindler's List, the Apollo 13 movie, the failed mission, but we brought our people back home safely. The Social Network, which a lot of people may not think of as an American history movie, but very impactful today because it gave us social media. And then I have to say something about Hamilton. Seeing that as a former history teacher just blew me out of the room. Um, and also, I have to mention that being an American gave me the opportunities that I've had. It gave me an education, and it enabled me to become an educator, public school educator, as a profession.
Being an American has often been described as a shared commitment. What does that shared commitment look like?
I'm going to go back to these four former living presidents. All of them mentioned being actively involved in your government. You may not run for politics or want to be involved in that aspect, but vote. Extremely important to do that. Get out there and vote. Your candidate may not win, but at least you have voted and you've expressed your opinion there. Volunteerism, I think, is the next most important thing after getting out and voting. Being involved in some aspect matters not what, but volunteering, helping others, and then being knowledgeable, questioning. Check your sources. Don't believe just one. Don't let social media be your only means of gathering news and information.